Hello everyone, Kenty Tiger here with Bengali Engineering and Play. We are back in Space Engineers, and the plan here is to refit the Interstellar Transport, this monster here, with as close to vanilla blocks as we can. Now, there's a lot of blocks missing just because of everything. This was originally built with a lot of mods, including my own, mostly my own, um, or rather my own blocks. So lots of problems. Um, one of the aspects of refitting is that no matter what you do, things are gonna break and fall apart. So one of the things that we're going to have to do, so in each of these thruster sections, and well, each of these thruster sections has gyros in them that are now free floating. So those are going to cause a lot of problems. And throughout the entire length of this spire, the fuselage of the ship, if you will, is missing conveyor. So the entire conveyor system has been gutted. Why is that? Well, I removed all of the non-vanilla blocks except for the scaffolding, and I'm going to leave the scaffolding because um, the ship, obviously, I mean, a lot of mod authors and ships and everything these um, use these blocks for aesthetics. I mean, obviously this lattice framework looks a lot better than the finished blocks. So here's finished blocks for you. So while the finished blocks have their place, obviously, so do, I think, the lattice blocks. So having these unfinished blocks is a neat thing. The downside is that if you use anything in the game that does welding for you automatically or stuff like that, then you can't just grind these down, because those blocks, whatever they happen to be, like the Nanite Control Factory or Rexar has an auto welder. Um, there's probably 4 or 5 different auto welders in the game, and so all of those auto welders just automatically start rewelding, which may not be what you want. So having said that, I use these things, which I highlighted in the other. So one of the things I have done here because of the refitting is I have turned destructible off, which is to say this ship is indestructible. And the reason for that is no matter what you do while you're building, everything that is free, which is to say is right now floating, will blow up. So Clang will attack hardcore as soon as I touch anything on this. So I have set destructible to off for this vessel, and so we're going to start back here because there's a lot of issues back here. One of the problems is, how do I get in here? And at first I thought getting in through back here would be better, but I don't know if I can, and I may have to just literally gut this whole thing and take it all apart, but I don't know. If I can keep everything from clanging to death, then we'll see. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is see if I can in some way get into this. So you see all these bouncing around, but because, well, things are set to indestructible, then I may or may not be able to salvage anything. Otherwise, things may just continue to blow up. So these are obviously all the oxygen generators back here. I may just have to rebuild everything back here. It's not like you can reconnect any of this stuff. So I guess we are. Yeah, I guess we don't really have a choice. Blocks back here, but it does look like the main propulsion system here is reasonably secured together. Yeah, so it's actually not, the issues really are about, clearly these kinds of things are missing, all of this, that. So all of the oxygen generators here, which even set to indestructible, they blew themselves up. Oxygen generator, and all three of these oxygen generators are gone. Reactors back here. Alright, get towards the center, get rid of that one, that one. So, obviously, a lot of the refit here has to do with all of these blocks that have become missing. It looks like it actually goes into a. Alright, so yep, and all of them. Well, yeah, the one that's left here. That's here. That one went off to the side. So, looks like all of these tanks are interconnected in every direction, which is good. So when I originally built this, I was apparently using some common sense. I over-engineer everything, as you can see. The problem with this build really wasn't about it not being well enough engineered. It's the fact that I removed so many blocks in the process of updating. And by updating, I mean when I removed all of the original blocks, then it completely wreaked havoc with everything. So I suppose if I were being intelligent, I would just go up and down. Okay, this section is clear. So let's go up here and get this section clear. That oxygen generator, that is clearly free floating. That one is free floating. Okay, we'll go to the center next. That's free floating. That's free floating. That's free floating. That's free floating. All of these are free floating. Go ahead and go up in here. That looks like it's still complete. Not sure what's on the other side of this. Perhaps a tank of some kind, I'm not sure. Alright, let's continue going up here. There's a whole pile of actually looks like this whole section is free floating, like it's not attached to the outside anymore. And I don't know how that would be possible given the fact that these reactors are well, there's this lattice framework that so the lattice framework is attached to the reactor here and is attached to the next section there and here, but or perhaps the ship is moving, which makes sense. All right, so all right. That's why the admin scripts come in so very handy. All right, figure out where I am. So this, I think, was the top before, and it looks like we have, you know, the top and bottom being completely relative here. All right. With that, I was hoping the refit inside here would not have to be nearly as extensive as it is, but you know, it is what it is. Alright, let's go into the next section here. That can go, obviously that can go. Here looks like everything is already gone. So down to here. I think I am in the center. No, I'm not in the center. Alright, so that can go. That can go. Gone, gone, gone. Gone. Coming through and just, you know, figuring out where everything is versus where everything was. You know, in fact, let me try and get back to an exit here, which may or may not be that. Provided I can actually find my exit here. I just came up with a harebrained idea that actually would solve the vast majority of my problems here. Because literally right now I do not know what is attached and what isn't. So if I can figure out how to get out of here. Okay, we're gonna try and squeeze out. Nope, it won't let me. Gotta find the hole that I created to get in here. Or make another one. about to just go out through. Just, you know, make a hole. Nope. Back in. All right. So here's the harebrained idea. Let me find the side that I actually dismantled here. There it is. As you can see, an awful lot of pieces missing already. So this was everything that was no longer attached. So, here's what we're going to do. We're going to save this, which should come up as Interstellar Transport vanilla. Let me, I'm going to bring up my file manager, which I apologize is off screen. And I'm going to get rid of the vast majority of and the reason why I'm doing hydrogen thruster module, shields. Okay. Now I know what that we can get rid of. Delete. Yes. The cryo rooms. And pardon me while I'm babbling here. I know this makes absolutely no sense at all, but so I'm leaving one piece here, and the reason I'm leaving the one piece is because I want to see it. Oh, that was not what I wanted. 10 hydrogen thruster. Yeah. Huh. So this is actually one of the modular versions that you see in the center line here. The only difference here is that this was hollow. It did not have the gyros in it. There was also probably OCD tanks on the outside here. Is likely what all of that was. So having seen that, so I've saved a copy of this into the blueprints. So even though this seems like suicide, we're going to help ourselves out in 100 different ways by removing Clang. The other side of the equation here is that there's an awful lot of cleanup. Now these are likely the antennas. There were 4 antennas in the middle that were no longer attached to anything. So the antennas have probably gone 100 different directions. Alright, so right now we're going to use some tools. Okay, yeah, we can get rid of that. Next. No idea what that is. Move next. Okay, those are the plates that were. Let me go to 0. 0. So it's strange that sometimes you can adjust the, for example, so now the armor block is way the hell out there. Oh, I guess it's not. That was a small block. Never mind. I am clearly not very educated here. Wrong one. Alt F10. Alright. So these were all the steel plate that were on the side, the catwalk plates. So what I'm doing is basically using this for trash removal is what I'm doing here, because I want to get rid of everything in the world. Alright, so didn't, well, we'll rebuild it all. So these were the cryo chambers here. Windows. Wow, there's a lot of stuff. So now we have a bazillion gyros, antennas. All of these are independent. And we will ultimately replace all of them. Because the Kenti gyros are so much more powerful than the other gyros, we may have large-scale issues with gyros. So we may actually end up having large areas with nothing but gyros, which is just the reality of vanilla gameplay. Alright, so we're down to nothing in the world here, which is exactly what I want. So I know some of those text commands that I'm entering in there look really confusing. That's all part of Midspace's admin command scripts that run in the background, and they add a whole lot of effectively command line functionality into the game. So you literally have a bazillion tools at your disposal. So I use those because they make building, they make a lot of things a lot easier. So one of the things you saw when we were inside, and it did not appear as though I was moving, and I was thinking that things were actually collapsing in on themselves, but it wasn't. It was actually that the ship itself was moving very, very slowly. So I issued a stop command, which it resets a grid's velocity to 0. So it's a very, very handy tool. Is it cheating? I guess that all depends on what you're doing. Clearly I'm not in a survival, I mean I am in survival mode, but I'm not in survival mode. With Space Master turned on, clearly you're not in survival anymore. So I'm not in survival for the sake of being in survival. I'm in survival because there are functions and everything built into the game engine which work, which do not when you are in creative. Alright, so having babbled all of that, we're going back in here. I can delete that now. Delete, yes. And Interstellar Transport Vanilla. So, here's what happened. So when I deleted that, everything that was not attached to it remained. Okay, so that was the whole point. So when I paste this thing back in, everything that is not was not attached to the grid is now gone. So now we can get in and we don't have to find everything and delete it. We just have to find where it was, figure out what was there, and then recreate it. Alright, so Control V. This is going to take a long time because of what this is. One of the things that I tend to try and do is get it facing approximately the right way. Now, the orbitals here, you know, when you're trying to paste something, are completely screwed up, and this is something wrong with the game. I have no idea what it is, but the larger your grid, and you're trying to paste it, the more screwed up the pasting is. So I did a video on it, which is actually on my channel, but I have not submitted a trouble ticket or a feedback to Keen yet. I do intend to do that, but in the interim, I just get very frustrated with things. So why do I want the nose semi-pointed at the sun? Well, the sun is a great light source, for one, and I have a bazillion solar panels in the back. So right now, the solar panels are the only power this thing has. So that's pretty important for obvious reasons. So paste, and that'll take a second or two. All right. So okay, I am. Oh, what the heck? What the heck? All right. That was not what I intended, but. All right, so I figured out. So we had hydrogen back here, which is actually 3 wide. Let me make sure that that is true. Yes, it is. So it's 3 wide and 3 tall, which is to say hydrogen tanks wide and tall, which is 15. Oh, sorry, 3, 3, and 3, 9. 9 wide. 9 wide, 9 tall. And of course it's got the plates on the back here, on the outsides, mostly for aesthetics, but you know, for other reasons as well. Then we have our reactors. Our reactors are all red because, well, 2 reasons. They're not connected to anything. And which is to say there is no conveyor system right now. And the number 2 reason is there's no uranium in them. Or they might actually just be turned off, which I can look. So I was curious as to what this section was. And the answer to that is this section was shields. So this was actually a section of 4 shields. So there was 1 shield set here, which is a 2x4 grid, and they were probably too long because they're 4 tall and 8. Yes, there were 2 shields. So 2 shields here across, 2 shields here across, 2 shields here across, and then 2 shields here across. So a non-symmetrical pattern with the 1 conveyor running through the center. So this entire section is now kind of irrelevant. It serves no function. So if there's any good news about what we've discovered here is that there's now nothing that isn't attached, which is a good thing. The real problem is how do I traverse some of these various sections, because I can't get into a lot of these areas. So I'm going to have to re-engineer the entire conveyor system. At the very least. So let's I'm curious. No, it's on. Oh, I guess let us. Yes. Oh, a lot of batteries. Batteries. still some gyroscopes. Alright, so batteries is in a group, so we're going to turn the batteries off. Oops, that was not what I wanted to do. Antenna. Turn that back on. That may be antennas. Alright. So that may have been turned off for a reason. Antennas. Okay, the assemblers are still there. Batteries are still there. Alright, so I'm not sure what it was that got turned off. Because this antennas thing should have been my auxiliary antennas. So thrusters, we can, oops. Thrusters, and I'm gonna lump all of them together because there's really no reason not to. Jump drive 1 through 10. Jump drives. Do we have a... let's turn gyros off for... that's weird. It already says it's turned off. So config off, on, off. Okay, do we have containers? Yes, we do. So toolbar off, off. Large hydrogen thrusters, which are the forward and aft thrusters. And there's only 4 of them that are actually facing forwards. So we're going to put this in, well maybe maybe we'll follow suit here. So these were, alright, off and off. Reactors, and there should not be any small reactors, so I'm not sure why I said large. Okay, off. And then solar panels. There is a lot of solar panels, to put it mildly. Most of the rest of our list here is solar panels. The rest of our list is solar panels. Oh, how about if I look and see, I probably got a solar panel group. Yes, I do. So, toolbar off. Terminal off. There we go, remote control. So, I lost my antenna. I have no idea which antenna is supposed to be the one radiating here, but that's likely the one that has disappeared. It may actually say KTC. Generator. Definitely got a lot of hydrogen tanks. Jump drive. Those are the 2. Hydrogen thruster larger. CDs, oxygen tanks. Huh. We know this was timers all the way at the bottom. Yeah. Okay. Well, apparently. All right. So let me back out of this area and theorize. So we have 8 antennas. We've got the 4 antennas, each antenna on the outskirts of the solar panels there, and then we have these 4 antennas. All of those are off. They're turned off. They don't do anything. They were just there for show. There was a set of antennas, I want to say they were in here somewhere, but they could have been here. Yeah, they might have been right here. Don't know that they were, but they were somewhere. You know what? Give me a moment. So I'm going to Alt-Tab back to my file manager, which is on the other screen, so you can't see it. So I apologize for that. Let me wander back in here, and I'm going to grab Interstellar Transport. So there was actually 2 versions of this. There was the Interstellar Transport that this is the frame of, or is now the frame of, and it had a small cryo chamber, which is to say the cryo chamber was within the scope of the ship. So if we point out the cryo chamber, it was here. So this section was the cryo chamber. So everything aft of this is not accessible in the it's not accessible to the crew without going EVA. The airlock. Oh, that's because I'm on the underside. Okay, so the airlock, which was here, or the aft airlock was here. So the working areas on the ship were forward here, which is why they're all windows, because people are awake, or mostly awake. And here was this large cryo chamber. In the large cryo chamber version, this was a lot bigger, and it actually kind of had this same type of stand by again. Picture's worth 1,000 words, right? So let me go down here and get one. Large cryo. Now there will be things broken on this because well, there are mods. And I'm gonna have to get way over here to paste this in because these are so damn big. All right. There. Okay. All right. So large cryo, and it will give me the warning here. Yeah. Paste. So I really don't even have to res this in, but you can see the airlock section, and then the whole piece after the airlock section, where So the forward antennas, this was why I was considering bringing these in. So the forward antennas in this case are forward of the aft airlock, which is good. Now I know where those were. So this large cryo area just had a whole bunch more cryo. There was actually a centerline bulkhead, and there were cryo chambers along each side of that, and then there was an outer, basically the outer bulkheads where you also had the cryo. Well, again, pictures worth 1,000 words. Let's have a tour. So this one obviously has a lot of pieces, but all the actually, you know what? The Darth Biomac mods are actually running here. Oops, upside down. So we actually opened the door here. The inner doors. Oh, the inner doors. And the game freezes. The inner doors are gone because they were Sectan airtight door. So this was the doors with the 2x3 doors, but with windows in them. And in fact, the entire length of the vessel was those. So here was the cryo chamber. So as you can see, a boatload of cryo chambers that ran. So the center bulkhead here had cryo chambers. We had the main cryo chambers, which it looks like there's actually 10 on each side. Actual, in-game vanilla cryo chambers built in here, including so this is all Prosimian's conveyors, the armored conveyors, and for some reason they aren't showing the glass. So I tried to be creative as I went here. So obviously you have some of the cryo chambers that are open. You've got a crew that's somewhere, but the rest are all turned on. So presumably this could have been like a colony type ship of some kind. Which has lots and lots of people in stasis. I never counted exactly how many. So this was the large cryo chamber concept here, which just evolved as a second version. All the OCD tanks in this case, at least I think this is what was here and missing. Because there was a different version of OCD tanks, and this was made with that version. I don't know why this is open. Don't know. So clearly I need to update these things. Okay, so the antennas in this case are just forward. 1, 2 antennas. Oh, and there's 2 back here. Alright, so there's actually 4 antennas that are. So I turn my HUD on so I can figure out which one is what. And none of them are transmitting. The connectors were missing. At least I know where they were supposed to be. So we have jump drives back here. Oh, so those weren't. So because of this strange bug where blocks that are actually there don't show up on the screen, and it's random. I saw the 3 and then a gap, and the 3 and a gap is because all of these are removed from that other chassis. So that's nice to know, because now I know where those are. Okay, so now that we've looked and I've learned, then we're back to this. So back here, so shields in here, and assemblers up here. These are 4 assemblers. There's a shit ton of assemblers there. I might actually pull the assemblers out for sake of doing something different. And the reason why is every one of those speed modules doubles the speed. So let me just get in here and kind of show with the visual. So if you see the way these are designed, is we have 2 speed modules per assembler. So if we think about things in reality here, 2 speed modules on an assembler, 2 speed modules on an assembler, 2 speed modules, 2 speed modules here, 2 speed modules here. So I could literally replace these 2 assembler arrays that are, it looks like 4 long. 4 long. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. So these 2 assembler arrays could be consolidated into a single assembler array with 4 speed mods. So 1 on each side. And it would be the equivalent in functionality to these 2. So I've done a lot of learning since I built this, and we have the 2 ones. They've only got the 1 speed module, so I could streamline this thing quite a bit and make it quite a bit better just by getting it out of, for example, so we have 1 set of assemblers down here with 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 1 set of assemblers up here with 1, 2, 3, 4. And then this area here on this side would be something, and this side would be something else. So we may be able to, you know, alter the way we do things, and be more efficient and have less assemblers, but we'll get there. We'll get there eventually. So let me go back out here. We have oxygen tanks, quite a few oxygen tanks. In fact, this whole section is oxygen tanks. Now, why we would need that much oxygen, I really don't know. But oxygen tanks. So sneaking into here. So we have hydrogen tanks, which ultimately are going to connect into here. These were because all of this stuff that was removed. And these were, so there's 2 things to consider here. Is one is this ship is so big it's going to lag any machine that runs it. So you can see I'm doing okay, but every once in a while, about every 2 or 3 minutes, it does that freeze, and then it has to do all of its calculations in gibberish, and then it lets go. So having a bunch of conveyor junctions in here really isn't going to matter that much. And what I think I will do, so if we consider these hydrogen tanks down the center of this module, Um, um, so what I'm pondering here is that I could actually run gyros down these lengths here and affect nothing. Um, but we're going to start at the back, and this is just brainstorming now. So this is kind of the planning on what we are going to have to do. What are we going to do with this section? So this was shields before, the energy shields, and no longer. So this is a reactor and a reactor. So that's the reactor section, which is entirely complete. No issues there other than how many reactors? Yep. Okay, so it is 5 reactors, 2 sets of 5. So there's actually 10 reactors here. So it's in the same format as all of this. So the hydrogen tanks back here are in a cross. These guys are in a cross. So some of the real questions here, and I think I've still got the hole back here, is I may have to go into spectator mode to really see. So the first thing I need to do, I need to figure out what's the top and what's the bottom. Okay, so top and bottom. Top and bottom, of course, is relative, but because this front half of the ship, and especially the cockpit, has a right side up and an upside down. Obviously, we have the cockpit here. Okay, so cockpit there, and that is right side up. So this is right side up. So how am I going to mark this? Well, if you remember from your naval stuff, red is port. Why is red is port? If you have ever studied rules of the road when it comes to maritime, that's your if you see the red light on the port side, then you are the stopping vessel. The other vessel has the right of way. Okay, I'm going to just go ahead and change all of that to red. Or maybe I should use bright red, obnoxious red. Red, and we'll change this block over here to... Now, why did I do that? Because I'm going to change the other side to green, which will make identifying port and starboard and subsequently up and down relative to the ship a little easier, because I can look at this, oh, that's the port side, oh, that's the starboard side. We might just actually leave these like this too. May not, but might. Should I do all these? Would that be a interesting touch? To have all of these green? No, let's not do that. Okay, so the good news is there's enough sun here to make most of these 4. So the only problems are these ones up here, which are, oh, not affected by shadows. Gotcha. Roger. Okay, so we are running out of time for this particular endeavor. Where did my hole go? There it is. The switch was on the port underside. I thought it was on the over portion. Alright, so even though we made a lot of discoveries, I did kind of use up an hour making those discoveries, which I did not intend to do. I intended to be into building at this point, but it is what it is. So we will come back and start building in the next episode. So until then, this is Kenty Tiger signing off, and we will see you next time.